Welcome to Islamorada in the fantastic Florida Keys for the 5th and final round of the P1 SuperStock Championship. And what a location! With a different winner at all 4 rounds of the series, the action, as always, has been super close and super exciting. And last time out, the fan-packed beaches of Sarasota didn't disappoint.
Team Barbados in a side-by-side battle with Spectre powerboats. Visit Jacksonville in a side-by-side battle with Frank and Als. Frank and Als drives by Barbados, but Spectre Powerboats takes the win. So here's where we stand as we go into the final event of the season here in Islamorada. Frank and Als Pizza racing out front with 225 points, followed by Team Barbados, Visit St Pete Clearwater, Spectre Powerboats, Southeastern Lighting Solutions, and Geico.
So just 27 points separating the top 6 teams with 5 races this weekend means it's anyone's championship.
We're feeling wonderful. You know, we worked out a few technical issues on the boat from Sarasota and got the boat down to boat wrench, and they tweaked it a little bit and got those Mercuries running to where they are, so we're looking good for this weekend.
Once again, we have to be consistent, we have to stay up front, and we got to keep Richie behind us.
Confident, communication's there, and we think we can carry this on through the next 5 races. So that's the important thing.
We think we can pull this off. We really, really want this. We worked really hard, so yeah, we want this pretty bad.
I'm hoping to carry momentum from Sarasota. We did really good 3 in a row there. Islamorada is a beautiful setting. Couldn't be any better. Hoping the weather picks up and gets nice and rough for us. And again, I want to carry this winning streak on. We're 20 points behind Frank and Al, so I've done the math. I know what I need to do, and it's win everything like I've always said.
So Martin, how do you see the championship playing out this weekend?
It's going to be a fight from the very beginning. We've got teams that have been working really hard all year long. I think Frank and Al's, they are set to go, but you can't rule out the Wilsons. They're tough. And then, of course, our flying Kiwi and Visit St. Pete Clearwater, he's got a shot at being on the podium, too. We aren't going to know until the final heat of the final day.
Sounds like it's going to be a big weekend. Looking forward to it.
It's going to not stop from the moment we start racing until the end. We're not going to know.
So 3 races today, the first one coming up, and 2 back-to-back later. The boats are heading out for race 1. Let's head over to our commentator, Martin Sanborn.
Thanks, Deanna. Hot conditions here in Islamorada.
What a great event here in the Keys, courtesy of Monroe County Tourism.
We've got a unique race course here in Islamorada. It's shaped like a T, a long run up through the start-finish chute to 1 and 2, then a right-hand turn out to the T. Then you've got 4, 5, and 6 with the right-hander at 7 to the north end of the course in 8, 9, and 10. As the pace boat gets the boats in position, they're required to maintain their lane all the way to the start-finish line. Then they can start slicing and dicing going into turn 1. And we have a green flag. We are underway in heat number 1 here in Islamorada. Geico had a bad start, got stuck back behind the pack. As we're on board Visit St. Pete Clearwater, you see that distance between them and Frank and Al's as they try to go to the inside, but they got a boat right to their side. That is Sarasota Ford out front. Spectre Powerboats, Forrest Kirby and Craig Wilson. Visit St. Pete Clearwater has got, oh, they get right into the side of Visit Jacksonville. They get into the side of Visit Jacksonville, go back behind Sarasota Ford. Let's take a look at that again. Looks like Visit Jacksonville came right across their bow, pushed them right behind Sarasota Ford. And the boats are coming up to their first right-hand turn, heading out towards the T. Spectre Powerboats out front. As we go on board Frank and Als Racing, the triple nickel with Frank Silva and Tony Ionata. Running in second place right on their heel is a Southeastern Lighting Solutions. Third place is Sarasota Ford, a side-by-side battle with Geico at Visit St. Pete Clearwater. Geico has moved themselves through the pack after a rough start. They have now moved themselves into 4th place. And there you see the gap between Visit St. Pete, Clearwater, and Geico as they make their way around the north end of the race course. Frank and Al's Pizza on the inside. Geico picks a beautiful line. They go through the outside wake created by Sarasota Ford. Sarasota Ford this weekend driven by Jason Morton. As we take a look backwards on Frank and Al's Pizza with Frank Silva and Tony Iannata. Sarasota Ford holding them off in a side-by-side battle right now between Frank and Al's and Visit St. Pete Clearwater. Geico goes deep into turn. They end up on the outside and have lost some ground to Visit St. Pete Clearwater. It's a little bumpier than it looks, which is normally the case. Visit St. Pete Clearwater holds that inside lane. Frank and Al's Pizza Racing riding right in the spray. As our leader makes the turn on the north end of the race course. And that is Spectre Powerboats out front as you go back to our battle with Visit St. Pete Clearwater, Sarasota Ford, and Geico. Jason Morton's got that Sarasota Ford boat running great. Just shows that the experience in these boats makes all the difference. As Visit St. Pete Clearwater taking a different line. You see him going to the inside trying to square off the turns and shorten that race course as we go back on board with Frank and Als Racing. They are currently the points leaders in the 2017 season going into this final race weekend in Islamorada. But out front right now is Spectre Powerboats picking up right where they left off in Sarasota. I love watching Craig Wilson run a boat. Perfect ride attitude. The rooster tail is the perfect height as he heads towards the checkered flag here in heat number 1. And the checkered flag is out, and the win in race 1 goes to Spectre Powerboats. Let's take a look at the results of race number 1 here in Islamorada. The win goes to Spectre Powerboats, followed by Southeastern Lighting Solutions, Frank and Al's Pizza, Visit St. Pete Clearwater, Sarasota Ford, and Geico.
Like I said, we come here to win every single race, and the weather picked up. And I kept seeing the wind getting stronger and stronger, and I said, okay, it's playing into our hands. So I got a great start, and then I just I controlled the race from there. You know, I do what I know how to do and push as hard as I need to and make sure that we took the checker flag. And I'm happy for Forrest because it was his first win being in the boat with me, and I think we picked up 5 points on Frank and Al. So like I said from Sarasota, we've won 4 in a row, and I'm coming for them, and I won't stop.
So great win for Spectre. Let's see what they can do in the next 2 back-to-back races.
We're here in Islamorada this weekend thanks to the support of Monroe County Tourism.
On board with Spectre Powerboats, Southeastern Lighting Solutions also has a substitute driver, Lee Baker, in the boat instead of Walt Cox. As we get ready for race number 2, and we have a green flag and the boats are heading towards the south into turn 1. Nice clean lineup. And it looks like out front, Visit St. Pete Clearwater gets the jump. Frank and Al's Pizza Racing and Southeastern Lighting Solutions looks like they slightly come together right there. Yes, they do bump. Southeastern Lighting Solutions just pushing their way through the pack. Out front is Southeastern Lighting Solutions, but they push everybody a little wide. That leaves an open door for Geico on the inside. Geico makes up a lot of ground as we go on board Spectre Powerboats. Oh, he popped out of gear. Craig Wilson popped out of gear. That's going to cost him some distance. Frank and Al's Pizza Racing gets squeezed by Sarasota Ford. Sarasota Ford almost misses the turn, goes across the front of Frank and Al's. Tight racing all over this race course. All of the teams know this is the final race of the season. And the championship is up for grabs. Southeastern Lighting Solutions got something bobbling around in the boat that he had to get out of his way. That is Lee Baker and Jamie Cantor. He's out front. But you see Frank and Al's Pizza right on the inside of him. Jamie giving Lee some direction as he looks over and sees the competition. And that's Jacksonville just out front of St. Pete Clearwater. Back on board with Spectre Powerboats. It looks like Forrest is just making sure that is not going to pop out of gear again as they make their way around the south end of the course. And Visit St. Pete is out front. Visit Jacksonville in second place. But that battle for third place is tight as we go back on board Southeastern Lighting Solutions with Lee Baker and Jamie Cantor. Visit St. Pete Clearwater way out front right now. As we go on board Frank and Als as they're trying to get by Southeastern Lighting Solutions on that right-hander. Gets hosed down and gets side by side with Southeastern Lighting Solutions. Lee Baker looking over. He sees Tony Ionata and Frank Silva in Frank and Als as they head to the north end of the race course. Frank and Als now has their sights set on Spectre powerboats. As Frank and Als dives to the inside, you can see him jumping back and forth across the wake. Spectre powerboats on the inside. Visit Jacksonville on the outside as they're trying to squeeze Frank and Als in the battle for second place. Frank and Als dives to the inside, but he can't hold the line. He's got to go through the rooster tail and comes up side by side with Visit Jacksonville. Spectre powerboats now in second place. Visit Jacksonville squeezing Frank and Als as they go around that final right-hand turn. Frank and Als will now have the inside lane as they head north. But here is our leader, and they are going to take the checkered flag in heat number 2. Visit St. Pete Clearwater with Richie Webster and Trent Gallen. But from all the bumping and grinding at the beginning, penalties were assessed, so the win goes to Visit Jacksonville with Geico coming in second place. Visit St. Pete Clearwater comes in third, followed by Spectra, Frank and Als Pizza, and Southeastern Lighting Solutions. In race number 3, Southeastern Lighting Solutions got off to an early jump and got the clean water. But by the end of the heat, Spectre powerboats had driven by and they take the win, making it 2 for 3 here in Islamorada. So let's take a look at the results from heat number 3. The win goes to Spectre powerboats, followed by Southeastern Lighting Solutions, Geico, Frank and Als, Visit St. Pete Clearwater, and Visit Jacksonville.
So after the penultimate day of racing this season, Frank and Als Pizza lead the points, but Spectre is hot on their tail, just 8 points behind. Join us after the break to find out who the 2017 SuperStock champion will be. Welcome back to the Florida Keys in stunning Islamorada for the final round of the P1 SuperStock Championship. 3 great races yesterday leave the championship standings looking like this.
Out front with an 8-point lead, Frank and Als Pizza Racing, Spectra Powerboats closing the gap, followed by Visit St. Pete Clearwater, Southeastern Lighting Solutions, Geico, and Visit Jacksonville. We had a great day's racing yesterday, typical of the most competitive ever P1 SuperStock Championship. The change to Mercury has resulted in the closest season of racing we've ever had, and it's down to the final race here in Islamorada. With the 300 XS Optimax, the boats handle better, the boats are faster, and the teams love the added performance.
What a great event here in the Keys, courtesy of Monroe County Tourism.
One of the coolest things about SuperStock is the boats are stock and equal so that talent can shine through. This year, Team Geico has a rookie racer on their team, Brian Main. Now, he's raced cars before, but he's made the transition from asphalt to water, and earlier we caught up with him about that.
I'm feeling more and more comfortable as the season goes on. Certainly the unpredictability of the ocean, since we've been offshore racing versus the first 2 races of the season on the river and the lake. The translation was much more like car racing on the first 2 races, but every time I get in the boat, I feel more comfortable. This is an adrenaline rush. It's something new, and you know, at heart, I'm a racer, and we're out there doing our best. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity from Geico, and we're going to be back with Geico Offshore Racing Team next year, stronger than ever.
So good to hear that Brian Main has caught the SuperStock bug. With still 2 races to go, who will be the 2017 SuperStock champion?
Well, as we head out to the race course after some weather delays here on the final race day of the weekend, it's a little warmer than yesterday, but we just had a storm, so it's calmed down the seas just a touch from what it was at the end of the 3rd race yesterday. And the pace boat brings the boats downrange as we get ready for our start in race number 4. And we have a green flag. We are underway as we're on board with Spectre powerboats. They are 8 points back going into this final day of racing on the final race event of the 2017 season here in Islamorada, Florida. And we have a side-by-side battle going on right now between Spectre powerboats and Visit Jacksonville. And Frank and Al's Pizza goes right through the spray of Visit St. Pete Clearwater as we go back on board with Visit Jacksonville, as they've now managed to get out front of Spectre powerboats, and they are in the lead. And there you see the battle happening behind Spectre. Visit St. Pete Clearwater also dives back through the wake, as Frank and Al's is side by side with Geico and Southeastern Lighting Solutions as they make their way towards the right-hander heading out towards the tee. Southeastern Lighting Solutions are going to try to square this turn off, and they hold their line. And Visit Jacksonville just getting passed now by Spectre powerboats. Spectre moves into the lead. A very close battle in the points going into this final race. Spectre powerboats has to win. And Frank and Al's has got to finish close. They can't let a boat get between them and Spectre powerboats, or the point gap is going to become a problem. Spectre powerboats in the lead as the teams are out on the tee. And we go on board with Geico. Brian Maid and Ed Dremmer. Brian picking some beautiful lines this weekend as he drives by Visit Jacksonville. And the water is bumping up just a little bit on this 4th of 5 heats. Visit Jacksonville now on the outside right hip of Geico. And Frank and Al's Pizza has gotten past Visit St. Pete Clearwater. And Visit St. Pete Clearwater slides over the top of the wake, gets squeezed a little bit, almost hooked it. Nice recovery riding across the top of the wake created by Frank and Al's Pizza. But the checkered flag is out, and the win in this heat is going to go to Spectre powerboats. So let's take a look at the results. After 4 races here in Islamorada, the win goes to Spectre powerboats, followed by Frank and Al's Pizza, Visit St. Pete Clearwater, Geico, Visit Jacksonville, and Southeastern Lighting Solutions. And we are now lined up for our 5th and final race here in Islamorada at the Ford Grand Prix of the Sea, brought to you by Mercury Racing, and we have a green flag. On the inside is Southeastern Lighting Solutions, as we have inverted the start from the last finish results. Southeastern Lighting finished in the last position. They are now on the inside line. Coming up hard on the outside is Spectre powerboats. Spectre powerboats has got to get out front. They need to win as they drive by Visit Jacksonville, hosing them down in the process. And you see the bumpy ride on board Geico. Brian Main on the wheel as he is right alongside Frank and Al's Pizza. Frank and Al's Pizza cannot let Spectre get away. Only a few points separate them going into this final race here in Islamorada. Spectre powerboats out front. Southeastern Lighting Solutions in 2nd. Visit St. Pete Clearwater in 3rd. And there you can see just how sloppy it is in those turns, as Visit St. Pete Clearwater getting up on its side. But out front right now is Spectre powerboats. On board Visit Jacksonville, they are trying to hold off Frank and Al's and Geico on the inside. But heading toward the checkered flag to take the win in the final heat of the weekend is Spectre powerboats. Craig Wilson and Forrest Kirby take the win in the final race of the weekend. Let's take a look at the results for race number 5. The win goes to Spectre Powerboats, followed by Southeastern Lighting Solutions, Frank and Al's Pizza, Geico, Visit Jacksonville, and Visit St. Pete Clearwater.
I'm not sure yet. I heard we've tied, and I mean, it's an honor to race with these guys out there. I mean, Frank and Al's Pizza and Southeastern. I mean, Lee Baker, he's a great racer, and to just be out there and compete with all of these guys weekend in and weekend out, it's an honor. And I mean, I knew what I had to do, and I did everything I could do, and it was. I'm just glad Lee put in a second place there the last race.
Well, the points tie is broken by the miles traveled, and the win ultimately went to Frank and Al's Pizza. They take the championship, followed by Spectre Powerboats and Visit St. Pete Clearwater.
So, I mean, we only found this out 5 minutes ago, and you know, thanks to James and Charlie, these guys, they told us all year, you got to stay consistent. And you know what? These guys are 3-time champions. We listened. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we stayed consistent all year, and as I mentioned a few times this year, it was about communication for us. We did the best we could.
You know, we put a lot of time, we put a lot of effort into this sport. It's a great sport. The integrity is great about the sport, and hey, we'll see you guys next year.
Well, Martin, what a close, tight season it's been.
It's been unbelievable. You know, everybody's been consistent. We had multiple winners all year long. The Spectre team really came to life at the end of the season and dominated the last few rounds, but it came down to consistency. I mean, a points tie at the end of the year, and it's decided by who was most consistent with overall finishes for the rest of the year. Frank and Al's takes number 1.
It's been an amazing season. We look forward to another season next year.
There's going to be more boats next year. We have great venues. SuperStock is growing. It's definitely somewhere you want to be. Don't miss SuperStock.
That's right. Now that's it from Islamorada. We'll see you next year.